Peace world, how you doing? Welcome to another episode of NYP Talk Show. This is your brother, Mikey Fever. We are the rawest and the realest podcast within this conscious sphere. Just showing love, educate, inspiring, and we learn from one another. Don't forget to comment, like, share, and subscribe. We got super chats. We got merchandise on the website, and we got a lot more coming down the pipeline for you guys. Without further ado, tonight we got a brother that's familiar with this channel who has been dropping a lot of information. He is very resourceful and he backs it up with some presentations for you. Never fail. Our good brother, Salman S. Sheik. Peace, man. How you doing? I'm gonna do the same thing myself too, man.
Greetings and peace, Brother Mike. How are you? I sent greetings to you, NYP Talk Show family, to Brother Ron Brown, to you. Peace and blessings to all of you. I'm grateful for you. And today I have a presentation which is academic. It's a scholarly presentation. So whoever watches it, they cannot deny the ties of Islam that are connected to what we know as the system of Freemasonry. So I dedicate this to you, my brother. And without further ado, let me just jump right into it.
I was gonna tell him get this book too.
Yep. Imam Mustafa Al-Amin, recently he passed away. So rest in peace to him.
Rest in power to him.
And he was an imam out in New Jersey, a beautiful, beautiful human being. And he definitely did a lot to contribute to this subject.
All right, no doubt, no doubt. You got that presentation, man? We can load it up for the people.
Okay.
Let me know when you got it.
All right. Do you see this, Brother Mike?
Let me see. I'm trying to add it to the stage.
All right, perfect.
Yep. Got it right here. Let's go.
Okay, perfect. Let me see. All right. So welcome, everyone. I start this with greetings and peace. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be with you and yours. And Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful. Today is a hidden history revealed on Freemasonry's tie to Islam, which is basically a scholarly and academic presentation I have put together. I dedicate this to Brother Mikey Fever, to Brother Ron Brown, to the NYP family. And this is for you. And it basically covers like the Sufi mysticism and Islamic philosophy, which was connected to the Knights Templar. So as we look at the Middle Eastern roots, we see that Freemasonry is the final vessel of a knowledge system originating in the Islamic world. The Knights Templar, living in Islamic Jerusalem, absorbed Sufi teachings and Arabic sciences while they were stationed at Al-Aqsa Mosque. They fled to Scotland after 1307, after they were being persecuted in France by the Catholic Church. So when they went to Scotland after 1307, they embedded this knowledge into rituals, evolving into the speculative Freemasonry we know today. Now, this thesis or this presentation here overturns Eurocentric myths, revealing a continuous ancient lineage spanning centuries. Now, the Templars in the Islamic world, they arriving in Jerusalem in 1119, the Templars embedded themselves within the Al-Aqsa Mosque, termed, quote, Templars of Islam, unquote. They established unprecedented alliances with Muslim leaders. Through encounters with Sufi mystics and scholars, they absorbed concepts of sacred geometry and monotheistic mysticism, fundamentally reshaping their underlying philosophy. And there were many times where they betrayed their own leaders, the Frankish interest at that time, because a lot of the Templars were connected to the French. So they would betray them in order to favor their Islamic brothers. There was also a story of a man coming to pray to Al-Aqsa Mosque while the Templars were in control, and another crusader, low-rank soldier, protested the decision, and the Templars sided with the Muslim that allowed him to pray in his masjid. So they were the defenders of all faiths. You know, they're not like what a lot of the bigots today do. They use the Knights Templar in a derogatory way towards Islam.
Say that again.
That's not who they were.
Yep. Say it again, man. Tell it. Can you say that one more time?
So the Templars, the Templars were defender of all faiths, just like how Saladin himself was a part of this knightly order, and he promised the Christian pilgrims protection of their holy sites. Even the Holy
Mm-hmm.
Sepulchre today is protected by a Muslim family, and protection of their relics and ancient sites. The Templars
Yep.
were the same in return, to Islam. They loved and respected their Muslim brothers, and now we have white supremacy that has kind of hijacked the Templar narrative, and it has nothing to do with them.
Exactly. I'm glad you said
So
that.
we see the excavations beneath the mount. And when the Templars conducted extensive excavations beneath the Temple Mount, discovering ancient scrolls and the Essene records, and that's what they were doing, these profound discoveries revealed historical connections between Judaism, early Christianity, and Egyptian monotheism. This ancient truth shook Orthodox foundations, becoming the secret doctrine that would later be transmitted directly into Freemasonry as well. And Islam itself, I have to teach the viewers that Islam is not what you see on the literal surface. They
Mm-mm.
tell us that Islam is an ancient religion that was revealed over time in stages, since the time of Adam, and it was revealed that same ancient religion from the different Sumerians, Egyptians, the Essenes, early Christianity. And in Surah
Yeah.
5, Allah tells you that I have now perfected your religion. It was revealed like in a Masonic degree fashion.
That's a fact.
We look at the Islamic Golden Age, starting with the advanced culture. Now, the Islamic cities housed vast libraries, preserving classical Greek philosophy and single handedly advancing global intellectual culture. The scientific pioneers, the Eastern scholars pioneered groundbreaking disciplines such as algebra, chemistry, advanced astronomy, right? The name of the stars are in Arabic, holistic medicine, and architecture. The
Mm-hmm.
architectural legacy. The Templars witnessed sacred geometry in mosques, concepts that ultimately appeared in Gothic architecture and Masonic symbolism. Now, the
Mm.
spiritual blueprint, right, of the Templars is Sufism, which is the inner mysticism, inner temple of Islam. Now,
Yep.
Sufism places heavy emphasis on inner purification, symbolic initiation, and the deep pursuit of allegorical truth. Its structured stages of enlightenment and master disciple hierarchies closely mirror the degrees of Masonry. Potent Sufi symbolism, the light, right? Allah is the light of the heavens and the earth, sacred
Mm-hmm.
geometry, and inner perfection. It permeates Masonic ritual. Now, the concept of the great architect of the universe aligns significantly more with Islamic theology than Orthodox dogma. So, the great architect or that belief in a supreme being is Tawheed. It's in
Yeah.
Islam where you have to believe in you have to have that foundation of faith.
Yep. You have to. Well, yeah, I'm glad you said that, man. As far as like the grand architect and the universe concept and the spiritual and mysticism, the mystical structure of Sufism,
Hmm.
like even down to what people see on the surface level of the spinning around, the twirling. That's going in. That's the infinity of going into the universe, 360 degrees of constantly spinning until you hit a certain level as you deem as a trance or whatsoever,
Hmm.
where you become one with God. It's like it's the same concept of how should we put it? Like when they say as above, so below, or
Yes.
without profaning, when light descends from above,
Hmm.
it comes down in a spiral in motion. But go ahead. I don't want to hold you up. Go ahead, bro.
No, no, no. That's right, brother Mike. I always appreciate your input, and to add on to that, if you see the Kaaba, the rite of circumambulation, they go
Hmm.
around the Kaaba 7 times. Even in Masonic initiation, they take you around the lodge in a circular motion. So it's
Hmm.
all of these different circular things define that 360 degrees. Alhamdulillah. Thanks for sharing that.
Exactly. And you break mathematically, they gotta break it down when you get that 360. When
Hmm.
you deduce it.
That's right. So
But
now we
go
look at
ahead.
the Essenes and early Christianity. No, most
Hmm.
people don't even talk about the Essenes and their teachings. They
That's a fact.
practiced devout communal living, rigorous ritual purification, and the
Hmm.
esoteric interpretation of ancient scripture. Now, while these foundational teachings profoundly influenced early Christianity, they were ultimately suppressed by the rigid Roman Church. Now, the Templar, they discovered the writings of the Essenes. It revealed an original form of Christianity that closely resembled Islamic monotheism. These
Mm,
unified values of mystical interpretation were shaped by Islam and seamlessly adopted by Freemasonry. So that's what a lot of the Islamic scholars tell us too, that Christianity at that time was a pure religion, and over time, things happened. That's why Allah sent Prophet Muhammad and the final revelation to basically correct the errors of all of the previous revelations, or what had been corrupted, by those that shouldn't have done anything. So
yeah.
now we see the Islamic influence on ritual, the ritual adaptation. The Templar ceremonies incorporated elements of Islamic prayer, Sufi initiation rites, and profound Arabic symbolism.
Yep. That's a
Oh,
fact.
hold on.
Hold on. You froze up for a second. Are you still there?
Okay. Do you see me, Brother Mike?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep,
Not
I'm
now.
here.
The
Do you see
presentation's
me?
still up, but no, I don't see it. Your camera. I think your camera's off. You gotta turn your camera on.
Let me see something.
Telling you, we dropping too
Um,
much information on here.
they're messing with my presentation, and this I'm just getting
Exactly.
started.
No, go ahead.
All right, let me just
Go.
continue. Let me just continue. So basically, the Templar ceremonies incorporated much of Islam into its symbolism, and the shared aesthetics, right? The distinct use of white mantles, geometric emblems, and the binding secret oaths perfectly
Mm-hmm.
mirrored Middle Eastern practices. The scientific integration, right? The Arabic numerology, they teach Arabic numerals in school, advanced astrological systems, and cosmic architectural principles were integrated into the order. The Masonic
Mm-hmm.
evolution is the emphasis on moral purification and symbolic death and rebirth initiation. It reflects these indisputable origins. And the Sufi path is tazkiya ul nafs, the purification of the heart and suppressing the ego.
Yep.
Now we see the fall of the Templars. By 1300, the incredibly wealthy Templars posed a direct threat to European monarchs. King Philip IV fabricated charges of heresy, compelling Pope Clement V to dissolve the order in 1312. Now, many knights they fled to Scotland, finding
Yep.
critical sanctuary among esoteric bloodlines who helped meticulously preserve their ancient secrets and rituals. So the Templars that stayed in France, they basically became martyrs. Some
Yeah.
people say that those were the true Templars, while the ones that escaped to Scotland preserved the teachings and what we know as Masonry today.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Scotland became their refuge, right? Scotland became the remote sanctuary where targeted Templar traditions safely evolved into Freemasonry. The earliest recorded Masonic constitutions boldly appear in Scotland in 1598, predating the English Grand Lodges by over a century. And they preserved the esoteric. These secluded Scottish lodges actively preserved Templar rituals, Islamic symbolism, and Middle Eastern esoteric teachings. Freemasonry definitely emerged not as a simple stonemason guild, but as the direct continuation of Templar esotericism. And the Scotland area was connected to the Moors as well, right? You have
Yeah.
the last king of Scotland with Idi Amin, and even at Idi Amin's funeral, they were playing bagpipes. So
Yep.
it's all connected. Even I recommend Forrest Whitaker's movie, The Last King of Scotland. I mean, they do tell you the truth, without telling you officially.
Of course, who he was. Yeah, definitely. You can see in the regalia.
So
You
that,
can see on what he was wearing who
that's
he
right.
was.
So Idi
Yeah.
Amin and the Moors, especially some places in England, they have places called Moors Gate. It's all
Mm-hmm.
connected. Even Martin Lawrence's movie, The Black Knight, where he was
Oh yeah.
teleported to medieval England and they first identified him as a Moor.
Yep.
Yep, yep. So now we look at the 33rd degree revelation, the true oath. So in the 33rd and final degree of the Scottish Rite, of course, right, Scotland, Scottish Rite, the identity of the Templars. The initiate is given a shocking revelation that he is symbolically the spiritual descendant of the true Knights Templar. He's instructed to uphold the legacy of Jacques de Molay and to swear a spiritual vengeance against the historical enemies of the Templars, namely the Knights of Malta, the
Mm.
Hospitallers, the Catholic Church. That's why the Catholic Church and Masonry are always beefing with each other. Now, this vengeance is not one of violence, but of remembrance and truth telling. The candidate learns the truth that was buried by the Church, that the Templars carried hidden knowledge from the East, safeguarded by mystics, Sufis, and Moors. Now, they tell you, okay, this is a symbolic teaching, but in some cases, between, let's say, the 33rd level and the Knights of Malta and the Catholic Church, it's like kind of on site for them. So for
Mhm.
them, like the Hospitallers and the Knights Templar, they're the ops. Now we see
Crazy.
the great architect, the Islamic Tawheed. Now, the Masonic concept of the great architect aligns closely with Islamic theology, emphasizing a transcendent creator who designs the universe with mathematical precision. And another thing I want to add about the 33rd is it doesn't have the value that it is supposed to hold anymore,
Mm.
because but if you look at it from the let's say mainstream Grand Lodge perspective, right? They're usually looking for guys who are in finance, they're lawyers, they're involved in law enforcement, anything political. So it's not about a lifetime achievement, right? Because there's no degree higher than a master mason.
It's not
This is
philosophical as much anymore.
it doesn't
It
hold any
changed.
value. And so most of the
Yeah.
people that I've seen, I mean, I have met some good people, but most of the people that I've seen is, they were not of a good character. So
Mhm.
having a 33rd doesn't mean that you had a lifetime achievement. It's the same in Prince Hall, right? If you got the money and the connects, or if you come from an influential background, they just give it to you.
Mm. See, that's
So,
why they properly vet people. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to earn your keep.
uh-huh.
You got to prove in your character, your conduct, and real brothers will come across those brothers, and then we'll put them in their place. You understand? If you're not living out the virtues of what you're
Definitely.
practicing.
That's right. That's right. And even with me, like I still got the good brothers, who are out there and they support me in my work. And I think that's what matters most at the end. So
Gotcha.
now we move on to the sacred geometry, where the Islamic architecture utilizes the complex geometric patterns reflecting divine order and cosmic harmony. You see this in the masjids and the architecture. Now, the Templars, they studied these Eastern designs, incorporating them into monumental Gothic structures. So they tell you that the Masons came from the Stone Guild, Mason guilds of Europe. So those traditions were passed down to them from Islam. Now, Freemasonry adopted these precise tools to represent immutable moral and spiritual truths. So they
Mhm.
turned that into a speculative science. Now we look at the Arabic origins of science, whereas the scientific concepts absolutely central to Freemasonry, algebra, astronomy, optics, originated in the Islamic world, the
Mhm.
seven liberal arts of the fellowcraft degree. Now, the
Mm.
visionary scholars, such as the Al-Khwarizmi, Ibn Sina, and Al-Biruni, established principles that shaped European thought. The Templars encountered these revolutionary ideas firsthand, transforming their understanding of the natural world. Freemasonry's core emphasis on reason, logic, and enlightenment continues this rich Islamic intellectual tradition. Now, the
Mm.
Sufi Templar connection, right? The ritual parallels. Now, the Sufi brotherhoods practiced transformative rituals involving symbolic death, rebirth, purification, and the revelation of secret knowledge. These practices so closely resemble Masonic degrees that they suggest a direct and unbroken lineage. Now, the inner transformation is Freemasonry's strict emphasis on inner transformation and moral discipline perfectly reflects Sufi influence. The philosophical journey from profound darkness to divine light is fundamentally an ancient Sufi concept.
Mm.
And even in the dervish orders, like you have to be recommended by two brothers of the order, then there's a probationary period, then you have to like memorize the ritual and the Quran. So it's like basically like hand in hand with one another.
Got you. Got you.
So moving on, we look at the Rex Deus bloodline, right? The guardians of the lineage. The Rex Deus families, claiming descent from Jesus, David, and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon them, valiantly preserved esoteric knowledge suppressed by the church. They formed vital alliances with the Templars and early Scottish Freemasons. Now, by providing this crucial protection, they successfully embedded their sacred teachings of lineage and moral purity deeply into the Masonic tradition. Now, many people of the lineage of the Prophet's family and these other esoteric leaders that are out there, they were all connected with each other through the Rex Deus bloodline. So it's a system that goes way back.
Hold a second, brother.
Uh-huh.
People, the brother is dropping a lot of information on his show. I don't see y'all running up those likes. Hit that like button, share it, comment, participate, because the brother is dropping a lot of information where you could go home and research it yourself. All right. Appreciate what the brother is doing. Hit that like button. Keep on hitting that like. Share it. Comment. Get involved. We got super chats. All right. Peace. Continue, my brother.
Thank you, brother
Peace.
Mike. So now we look at the chivalry, right? Alpha Tua. Now, Alpha Tua was a system of chivalry and knighthood that was introduced into Europe. And we look at the Eastern codes, right? Muslim warriors, they practiced profound codes of honor, strict discipline, and spiritual devotion long before European knights. The
Mm,
Templar adoption, the Knights Templar learned and integrated these codes of chivalry directly from noble Islamic warriors during their stay. The Masonic ideals, Freemasonry's unwavering focus on honorable moral conduct, service, and brotherhood, mirrors these chivalric ideas and ideals. And they do that. They demonstrate it today through the Knights Templar, through the Demolay, through the Scottish Rite.
mm-hmm.
Even many European customs and traditions has chivalry in it, all from Islam. The ethical foundation, the foundational ethics guiding the modern Masonic Lodge, were undeniably shaped by the rich traditions of the East. So the concept of being honorable and the knighthood that comes from Islam. Now, the problem we have today is the suppression of the influence, right? The Roman Church and even the
Mm-hmm.
modern gatekeepers in the Masonic world, they systematically sought to erase evidence of Islamic influence on early Christianity and the Knights Templar. Now, the Middle Eastern contributions to science and spirituality were aggressively minimized in
Mm-hmm.
historical narratives. Freemasonry inherited the suppressed knowledge, safeguarding the ancient wisdom through complex allegories and secretive symbolic rituals to avoid persecution. Now, the vessel
Definitely.
of Islamic wisdom, the ritual and symbol, Freemasonry diligently preserved profound Islamic wisdom through its highly structured esoteric degrees and complex allegorical teachings. The core philosophy, right? The fraternity's unyielding emphasis on geometry, absolute monotheism, and internal moral purification reflects the direct Middle Eastern influence. Now, the global tradition that shows itself today, fundamentally rooted in the shared ancient heritage of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam.
Mm-hmm.
The
I wanted
evidence,
to add something to before you continue.
yes, brother.
I know for those who don't know, I'm glad you mentioned about the situation as the ops amongst the Vatican and what we know as Freemasonry today. But it was originally with the Knights Templar,
Yeah.
and we said that they were rich. And people have to understand the Knights Templar were a rich organization and brotherhood that were also, I don't know, should I quote it as this? But correct me if I'm wrong, brother. They were used as mercenaries to fight at one point when the church used them. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's right.
They were used, and something that Pope Philip came up with a story saying, you know what, they are anti-God, blasphemous. We should just
Hmm.
go ahead and wipe them out because they didn't want to pay a particular debt for what they discovered or recovered for him,
Hmm.
something like that. So I just wanted to touch on that, let people know where we're going with this and how they turn what we see today and in the past as far as the Inquisition, how all this is tied back to the Inquisition, right?
Yes.
All right, got you.
And it's also tied to the if you look at how the Vikings, even the Vikings were battling Islam, and the Vikings are directly connected to what we know as the Knights Templar. Even if you look at the game Assassin's Creed Valhalla, right? Like you are a Viking that's eliminating all of the enemies of the Knights Templar. So the Knights Templar could be reborn through Alfred the Great at that time.
Mm,
So these video games are telling you the truth. And how in those Scandinavian Viking countries, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, they have their own form of Freemasonry called the Swedish Rite, which is Christian only. Like if you're not a
mm,
Christian, you can't join. So they themselves are preserving themselves to be like the true Knights Templar as well. So it's all interconnected, with those guys, then with England and Scotland and the Spanish Inquisition with the Jesuits. Even the Jesuits had a Moorish presence, right, with Yasuke. They took Yasuke to Japan, and the Japanese leader, Nobunaga Oda, was able to free Yasuke from slavery. So all of these brotherhoods and esoteric traditions are connected with each other, and they try to show you the truth, right, in the movies and video games. You just
yeah,
gotta you just gotta have the eyes to peep, what's being shown to you.
got you. Oh
So we
man.
see the evidence in the Masonic ritual, the lodge rituals that contain undeniable, clear references to Middle Eastern traditions and precise Arabic numerology. How you go around the rite of circumambulation around the lodge and around the altar. Same
Hmm.
thing with the Kaaba in Mecca. The deliberate use of geometric symbolism and monotheistic theology firmly points to ancient Eastern roots. And there's no other religion besides Islam that does the rite of circumambulation, right? Going around the Kaaba. And that is
Hmm.
demonstrated precisely in Masonry. The initiate's conceptual journey from darkness into radiant light perfectly mirrors Islamic spiritual progression. Inherited directly from the Templars, the modern Freemasonry preserves these sacred ancient ceremonies beautifully intact.
Got you. And you said the Kaaba going around the circuit.
Hmm.
It's so beautiful and deep. Like if people really do the research, and I know you already know this already, but when he said going around the Kaaba the 7 times, it's not only physically you're doing this, you're also doing this spiritually because it also connects to the seven chakras, the seven the seven parts of the body of the man, the astrological body, the cosmology, the soul, and everything else. It all ties into that. The seven
That's right,
astral
brother Mike.
planes. Yeah.
That's right. And even La ilaha illallah, La ilaha illallah, it's
Yeah.
it's connected to like the seven syllables, the seven chakras. You go
Mm-hmm.
around the Kaaba 7 times, which is the letter G, the seventh letter,
Mm-hmm.
symbolizing the connection with God. So it's all interrelated, and how basically I remember one of my Sufi friends who went to the Hajj. He said when he was walking around the Kaaba, he felt an entity took out his heart and weighed it on a scale to see
Ooh.
to see if he was pure or not. And he felt like it's all connected because Islam is the same religion since the time of ancient Egypt. It's an ancient religion. So
Mm.
in ancient Egypt, they call it the scales of Ma'at. And in
Yes.
Islam, they call it the scales of Mizan, how your
Mm.
heart will be weighed on a scale to
Yeah.
see if you are found worthy and pure to be initiated into the further mysteries.
Mm. You know what's so deep? What you saying that
Hmm.
even people may not agree with this character. Aleister Crowley found himself in Egypt.
Yeah, that's right.
There's
I
a
even Aleister Crowley, I covered him in a book and presentation, and all of that stuff, even OTO and Talima, right? They call each other caliphs, and all that stuff was influenced by Islam. So Western occultism and esotericism, right? The OTO, Talima, Masonry, secret
Mhm.
chiefs, it all comes from the East. But unfortunately, the white gatekeepers of the West, they never acknowledged or gave Islam any credit. I'm like, you know what? Then I got to do something about it. I'm a builder. The tools were given to me. I'm
That's
going to
it.
build it on my own.
That's it.
So
That's it.
if they're not talking about what you want, then in the age of technology, right, you could publish your books, you could put your videos out there, you counteract it. That's your responsibility to do so.
Exactly.
So as we continue, We look at this cross that was found in a Knights Templar church in Anatolia, which is
Mm.
modern day Turkey. And look at this cross, right? And it resembles the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And you're not supposed to do this, right, to show any image of the Prophet. But this right here was a basically a cross that was found in a Knights Templar church. This is the accusation that they get, that they were worshiping Prophet Muhammad, right? Baphomet, Mahomet. And
Yeah.
that basically, Baphomet is the Insan al Kamil in Sufism, where you master your animalistic side, your
Yep.
masculine and feminine, and you basically become the perfect human being. That's
Hmm.
Insan al Kamil, the perfect human. So even if you fold up the cross, it becomes a cube. And it was the Al-Bana Sufi order in the Middle East who told the Templars that you have the cross, but we'll teach you the meaning of the cross, right? You might have it, but you don't know the meaning of it. So even you see here this cross that was found in Knights Templar Church, it's quite self-evident, that they were honoring the prophet in their own way.
That's deep right there, man. First
Yep.
time seeing that.
That's right. I mean, they try to suppress this image online, but even you have the teacher who's a former Mason. His name is Leo Zagami. Even he features this image in his book on Freemasonry, how it's connected to Islam and all of that. I mean, he comes from like a different propaganda perspective, right, to demonize Islam, but even he shows this image in his book on this
Gotcha.
this cross that was found in a Knights Templar church. So now we look at the Arabization of the Knights Templar. The charges against them accuse them of being crypto Muslim with worshiping of Baphomet, Muhammad, and
Yep.
denial of Christ. They were persecuted on a Friday, which is a holy day. And of
Exactly.
course, Muhammad is the Insan al Kamil. It's not anything satanic or negative. The Templars made treaties in the Holy Land with Muslims contrary to French interest and betraying Frankish armies to Muslims during periods of conflicts. Robert of St. Albans, an English Knights Templar who converted to Islam and married Saladin's niece, and he fought against the Crusader forces. Now, in the 1270s, the Templar commander in Sidon, Matthew Savage, also spelled Sermaj, and the Mamluk ruler of Egypt, Sultan Baybars, were blood brothers. Hugh de Paynes, right, the co-founder and first Grand Master, was a descendant of Moorish Sufis.
Hmm.
So if you look at the Pagani family crest of Italy, that's where Hugh de Payne came from in Sicily. If you look at their family crest, it's the head of three Moors on there.
Hmm.
And if you tie this all together, see how even the Mamluk ruler of Egypt and the Templar commander in Sidon, they were blood brothers. This is what I referred to earlier in this presentation, the Rex Deus bloodline. So these bloodlines, they still exist today. All these people behind the scenes, they're all friends with each other. They're related to each other. They're friends with each other
Talk
till,
about it.
till this very day. I mean, it's a stage, brother. The world is a stage.
We got that. That's another conversation we got to get into that because I was like heavy into that stuff. With the 13 families behind the scenes and everything else, and man, there's a lot.
It's
you know.
definitely a lot. And now we look at the Mediterranean Pass. The Mediterranean Pass was a recognition mechanism conferred upon Knights Templar and later Knights of Malta to ensure safe passage across seas and territories governed by the Moors, right? The rulers of the seas, the non
Yep.
Christians.
Navigators. Hmm.
That's right. Its function was initiatic and diplomatic rather than theological, indicating a shared symbolic language across religious boundaries. Now, this is from the Freemasons Quarterly Review, 1846, in London, the Grand Lodge of London. So this is from an English Grand Lodge source, right? And it was from Brother L.C. Delude. And he talks about, the Mediterranean Pass, right? Where he talks about the order of the Knights Templar commenced about 728 years ago. Like he's talking about this in his time, 1846. And then he talks about right here, you could see, they were instructed with certain passwords, signs, and tokens to
Mm.
pass their way unmolested among the Algerian and Moorish Masons. He's talking about Moorish Masons right here, and Algerian who were North Africans. Now, the Mediterranean Pass, a degree only given to the Knights Templar and afterwards to the Knights of Malta, was given to them to make use in case of obstruction or hindrance, right? It was a token of brotherly love, right? To prove that amicable brotherly agreement was established between Christian, Turk, Moor, and Jew, to be recognized as brothers of the same family, to be on the level, and children
Mm-hmm.
of the great architect of the universe.
Exactly.
So the Mediterranean Pass was a system of initiation, right? So they tell you that, oh, Masonry was originated in 1717. That's not true,
Not true,
right?
man.
This system of degrees, signs, tokens, passwords. You have an English Grand Lodge source, right? You can look this up and see it for yourself. That give credit to the Moorish Masons and to the aspect of the Mediterranean Pass degree.
Brother, you see how you said, and again, this is no disrespect to the Moorish Science Temple of America. Peace to you, brothers. Islam. I always heard that the Masons are the custodians for the Moors. They upheld, which is true. But you have some Moors that take offense when you call them Masons or try to liken them to be Masons. They take offense to that. I believe from what you presenting, that probably came from the fact that they felt that they overshared too much information with
Yeah.
outsiders, that they hold that kind of resentment. Because, we heard things of Noble Drew Ali. Some people say Noble Drew Ali was a Mason. And again, I don't want the Moors to come after me because, listen, I'm just speculating. I'm not trying to disrespect the man. Do you believe in your heart that he was a traveling man or he just was exposed to that knowledge?
I believe he was a part of the mysteries because he also went to Egypt and he was initiated into the mysteries in Egypt. And also Muhammad Abdu and Jamal al-Afghani, who were both Sufi masters and Masons too. They
Mhm.
came to Chicago in the late 1800s in the winter to visit the parents of Noble Drew Ali. So I
Mm.
believe these hidden masters of the East, whether you look at Master Fard Muhammad of the Nation of Islam, you look at the Jamal al-Afghani and Muhammad Abdu, who came and planted the seeds for Noble Drew Ali, how Noble Drew Ali went to the East. It's all hidden initiatic systems and brotherhoods that we are not taught on the surface level. And, for the Moors, I always, as a Mason, I gave so much credit to the Moors. I'm even showing you here how an English Grand Lodge source is talking about Moorish Masons and the Mediterranean Pass degree. So this is
Mhm.
actually honoring them that, hey, you were the ones, it all came from you.
And I want to add to this. Shout out to the ancient free Moorish right. Those brothers, man. They out there doing their thing. Salute to y'all.
Hmm.
Got to get them back on the show because they always speak about that. Like, whose masonry are you practicing?
That's right. That's right.
Like they speak of Angelo Solomon and all that. Oh, it's pretty deep, man. But go ahead, bro.
Yep, that's right. So as we continue, my brother, we see the Kaaba, right? Most people do not know inside the Kaaba, you got the three pillars and the altar. And you see the black and white cloth, right? That represents the black and white tiles, the duality of
Mm-hmm.
the nature that we're dealing with. You're going around the Kaaba 7 times, and everyone's wearing the cloth, right? Everyone's on the level. They're wearing the
Mm.
ihram. And if you look at it from an anagram, it spells out Hiram. This is what changed Malcolm X's life. He went there and he
Mm.
saw that whether you were a president, CEO, a janitor, everyone was a brother equally participating in the same ritual. And you look at the Masonic tracing board, you see strength and beauty. They always talk about, Jachin and Boaz, the pillars,
Yep.
but they don't talk about wisdom. You got to walk the middle path.
Yeah.
And one of the signs that the Prophet Muhammad said, peace be upon him, the hadith, that the three signs of Allah, the sun, the moon, and the all seeing eye, right? The Al Basir, one of the
Mm-hmm.
99 names of Allah, that Allah is always watching you. So you have strength and beauty, but you got to walk, you got to take strength and beauty and walk with wisdom, the middle pillar. You got to walk the
Exactly.
middle path.
That
And
equilibrium.
that's right. And you see the cornerstone, right? They say the meteorite that fell from heaven, and the cornerstone of the Kaaba is a meteorite from heaven. So it's basically the house not made with hands, what they tell us
Mm.
in Masonry, the Grand Lodge, the celestial Grand Lodge. And also above the Kaaba, you have the celestial Kaaba. And
Yep.
those, what Allah dictates to the world comes through the celestial Kaaba. And those then
Mm-hmm.
orders are then carried out divinely in this reality. So it's all a circular 360-degree reality of
Mm-hmm.
basically perfecting your character and honoring, thyself and the world around you with the short time that we are all given here.
Exactly. Just visiting. It's so as above, so is below. I'm gonna keep saying that on this show. I know they heard on many shows of me saying that, but that's how it is. It's even
And
in your Lord's prayer.
and
That will be
also
done on.
also
Mhm.
my brother, to add something here is like no other, like it's like right there in front of you, right? The pillars, the altar, going around it. In masonry they make you do the same thing when you're being initiated.
Mm.
Yeah, what were
Mm.
you saying, brother, about the Lord's Prayer?
No, I'm listening because you dropping some jewels there. I'm looking at the Kaaba, the inside. I said, like, as above, so is below. Like the will of God comes from the above, the celestial lodge, down to the earth. So the Lord's Prayer says that that will be done on earth as it is in heaven. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
that's right.
Mm-hmm.
So as we continue, we look at the Quranic verses for each degree of craft Freemasonry. Now, the inner apprentice degree, right? You're coming from darkness to light. This is tawakkul. Like you believe in Allah, you got the blindfold, and you take one step in front of the other. Do not fear any danger and walk your path, which is chapter 2, verse 257 from the Quran.
Mm-hmm.
Allah is the guardian protector of the believers. He brings them out of darkness and into the light. So do not fear any danger and walk your path. The first degree. The second degree is the arts and sciences, the fellowcraft. Chapter 58, verse 11. You who believe, if you are told to make room for one another in your meetings, right, the Masonic meetings, then do so, and God will make room for you. And if you are told to rise up, how they hit the gavel and you must rise up, you do so. God will raise up by many degrees those of you who believe and those who have been given knowledge. He is fully aware of what you do. The middle chamber, right? The knowledge and all of that in between, the staircase, and how you're told to reflect on these realities. The
Mm.
third degree, the Master Mason, chapter 21, verse 35. Every soul will taste death. We test you. That's Allah saying that we test you with good and evil. And as a trial, then to us you will all be returned. Memento mori. This is why the Muslim or the Mason should not fear death. It is a,
Mm-hmm.
a final initiation that happens to you before you move on to the next reality. So that is an important part of why we are here. Even the ancient Egyptians, right? Death is only the beginning. That
Yeah,
was their purpose in life, to die.
exactly. That's initiatorial step because you must, even down to the Christ that many believe in, that was initiatory step. You must go through
Yes,
that death. Yep, the renewal.
that's right, brother. So now, as we move on to the three stages of realization, it's in the Sufi path, they call it Iman, Islam, and Ihsan. The first, right? Iman, belief, faith, secrecy, and full trust in the grand architect of the universe, the inner apprentice degree. The second degree, Islam, submission, obedience, knowledge, and practice, to reflect on your growth and continue the pursuit of knowledge, fellowcraft. So the first two degrees teach you secrecy and obedience. The third degree, Isan, a righteous, upright character, and living a good life with the time you have been granted. The Master Mason, die before you die. And die before you die basically means you let go of this world. You know the reality of what it is,
Mm-hmm.
right? You don't sell your soul. Even the 32nd degree, right? So what they do in 32nd degrees, they have this character named Constance. He's a knight, and the devil basically appears to him and offers him fame and fortune and riches. And Constant rejects all of that to be a martyr, right? So at the end, he gets martyred in the cause of God. And the main teaching in that degree, the sublime prince of the royal secret, is that my faith is in God. My faith is in God. And then the 33rd, of course, you're given the Knights Templar identity after the martyrdom. So die
Mm.
before you die. So
I
all
like
three
that.
stages must be honored fully, or you are just following mere rituals without any meaning and inevitably leading to hypocrisy. You must practice what you preach, otherwise, it's all meaningless and wasted effort. There is a difference between a learning phase and an application phase of knowledge. Also,
Mm,
you need a guide and a mentor, no egoism or individualism. So in the West, right, they're always telling people that, oh, you don't need anybody, you must be individualistic.
mm-mm.
But that's not who we are. We need a village.
Exactly.
It takes a village to not only help ourselves but help each other. So we got to come back to that. That's why, not to get into politics, that's why the concept of democratic socialism is making a comeback, right? We all got to help each other out. That's what we're here for.
Mm-hmm. Now you're right about that. It's important because even like again, for the respect of the craft of my profaning, even those who in the Hiram legend that assassinated him, they wanted the information so bad, but they didn't want the tutelage. So that's why that story was teaching you is that you must humble yourself. You must let go of the world. You must eradicate your ego because your ego will drive you to do the most heinous acts, to commit the most heinous acts, basically. And that's what happened in the Hiram legend.
That's right. That's absolutely right, brother. And I think if our brothers and sisters come to that realization, that is a big, big step of healing our hearts. So,
Mm-hmm.
thank you for that, Mike.
That's all
So,
love, bro.
as we continue, we talk about the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the widow's son.
Yeah.
Prophet Muhammad lost his father at a young age and was raised by his mother, a widow, till the age of 6. He was a widow's son. He married Khadija, his first wife and sponsor. Like, she, looked out for him. She was rich. She was a widow herself, and she married him at the age of 25. She herself
Mm.
was 40. So Prophet said, I have come to perfect the adab, character of mankind. He was there, the widow's son that came to perfect everyone's character. It all sounds familiar. He
Mm-hmm.
established religious and racial freedom with his decrees. Dealing of Hazrat Bilal, who was an African slave, he was able to get him freedom. And Hazrat Bilal was the first who stood on top of the Kaaba and did the Adhan, the call to prayer. Now, the covenant with the monks of St. Catherine Monastery, he made that, and the Constitution of Medina, which gave rights to Jews and Christians who were being persecuted by the pagan Arab tribes. Thomas Jefferson's Quran and the Constitution and what they have here, right? Freedom of religion, that comes from Prophet Muhammad, right? Freedom of religion, and how even the Prophet Muhammad is honored with a statue outside of the US Supreme Court. He instructed mankind to become one ummah despite race or religion, right? Be on the level, community, and be on the level. And it says that in Holy Quran, Surah 2, verse 62, that Allah doesn't care what religion you're following. He only cares if you're an upright, righteous individual. So it's not
That's it.
about, you going to the church or going to the masjid or all of that. If you're not of a good moral character, then when the time comes, that's not going to matter. So you got to be of a honorable character. And the Prophet instructed us to take care of widows and orphans, right? The Bukhari and Muslim hadiths.
Mm-hmm.
And what do the Masons really stress? The worshipful master. Oh, we got to look after our widows and orphans. It's the
Exactly.
same thing. It's the same thing.
Charity.
The charity.
Mm-hmm.
Now we look at the all-seeing eye, right? The 99 names of Allah. How we're all looking for the lost name of God. The 100th name is missing, and one of the names is Al-Basir, right? He is fully aware of everything you do. So if you know that God is always watching me, even in seclusion, then you would not commit any sins. You would not do anything dirty. You would not have any bad thoughts. Because that's
Mm-hmm.
what the Sufi and Masonic path is: purify your life, your character, your thoughts, live a good, clean, healthy life, be charitable, be there for self and others. Because this is a test. We're being tested. It's
Yep.
like a Truman Show. We're being watched from cradle to grave, and at the
Exactly.
end, depending on, it's like how the video games have it, right? You have a dishonorable ending or you have an honorable ending, depending on what you did throughout the game. This is
Mm-hmm.
exactly what it is. What we're dealing with.
Mm. I like that. The all seeing eyes constantly watching you.
Yes.
And the fact that you mentioned purification is always done is always that redeeming yourself.
Hmm.
For those who know a particular psalm you'll read in the Bible for purification. You get what I'm saying?
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right, brother. One thing I like about the book of Psalms is be still and know I am God. And
that's it.
how even Rumi tells you, the Sufi master Rumi, that to you just sit, be silent, listen to that voice that does not speak. We're looking for Allah all everywhere else except our own hearts. Shout out to the Moors. Noble Drew Ali said, Allah is in our heart. Father Allah of the 5%, Allah is within you. So it's
Yep,
all teaching you to, look within and follow the teachings of your heart.
that's it.
So as we continue, my brother, we look at the Ikhwan al-Safa, the Brethren of Purity. Even Mackey's encyclopedia, right? Albert G. Mackey, the Masonic scholar, his encyclopedia, the second volume, page 601, refers to the Ikhwan al Safa as the pre 1717 Freemasons of Basra, Iraq, in the ninth
Mm,
century. You look at the above image of the Ikhwan al Safa, right? It resembles the three lights, the sun, the moon, and the worshipful master. Their
mm,
ranks were associated by age. So the first was
mm,
the craftsmen, 15 years old minimum. The second were the leaders. They were 30 years old. The kings were 40 years old. And the prophets and philosophers were 50 years old. So it was like a age and experience based rank structure. They taught the esoteric occult knowledge with their 52 epistles. They influenced Christian Rosencreutz and the Templars in pre 1717. Even Christian Rosencreutz, right? See, it's the same story. Even the
Yes.
Rosicrucianism, he went to North Africa and the Middle East, and he was initiated by the Ikhwan al Safa. The symbol of the rose comes from the Qadiriya Sufi order. Sheikh
Mhm.
Abdul Qadir Jilani, the Sufi master, was known as the Rose of Baghdad. The rose basically symbolizes the mystical union with God. So you're
Yep.
seeing this whether it's the Knights Templars, Masons, OTO, Talima, Rosicrucianism. There is a connection to the East which they are not acknowledging. And this is what I've
Exactly.
done with my videos, lectures, books, and presentations.
Mm. Turn to the east for you find that light. You know what's so dope about that? Even in I don't want to take up the time, but as far as like archangel, the alignment of archangels,
Yes.
they look to the east, the Raphael for the healing, the name and
Hmm.
everything. It's always to the east because that's where the sun rises, and everyone went to the east, and it's so crazy how now they try to demonize the east
Hmm.
after they pulled all those resources and everything else. They still trying to find ways to demonize it.
Yeah, the colonizers.
Yeah, that's how they roll, bro. They go in there, they take what they want. All right, you know what? You're evil.
That's right. That's right. So now we continue with Elias Ashmole's Arabic sources. Now
Mhm.
let us look at the period, right, the early period, right before 1717. One of the very first recorded speculative Freemasons in England was Elias Ashmole, initiated in 1646.
Mhm.
Ashmole was deeply embedded in alchemy, astrology, and Rosicrucianism. The foundation of his alchemical and esoteric studies relied heavily on the Latin translations of Arabic alchemists like Jabir ibn Hayyan and al-Razi. Now, the fascination with the East, right? The proto-Masons of the 17th century, like Ashmole, were absolutely fascinated by the East. They studied Arabic, collected Islamic manuscripts, and looked to the Orient as the cradle of wisdom. The rituals they designed were heavily laden with the same geometric, architectural, and Solomonic symbolism that had been the hallmarks of Islamic mystical traditions for centuries.
Mm.
Now we look at Sir Ren, as the Saracen style, right? So they're always talking about, oh, the Masons were the stone builders and the guilds of Europe. There's
Yeah.
even a scholarly lecture out there by Dr. Roy who talks about how Islam influenced the architecture in Europe. Please check that out as well.
Yep.
So we look at the architecture admission. Sir Christopher Wren, the legendary architect of St. Paul's Cathedral, and a figure widely associated with early speculative Freemasonry. Wren himself famously acknowledged the debt European architecture owed to the Islamic world. He frequently referred to the Gothic architecture not as a European invention, but as the quote unquote Saracen style. And we see here, right, the collapse of Eurocentrism. Wren explicitly stated that the engineering and geometric techniques used by European stonemasons were brought back from the Middle East during the Crusades. If the very builders of the cathedrals admitted their geometric knowledge came from the Saracens, the Eurocentric claim to the exclusive origin of Masonic symbolism collapses.
Mm. Mm.
Now we look at the Ottoman influence on the Renaissance, Black nobility, Othello's children, right? Even Shakespeare wrote about Othello's Moorish children in Venice.
Yes.
Now we look at the Venetian pathways. As we move closer to the 17th century, the Ottoman Empire was an intellectual and military superpower. The Republic of Venice, the gateway to Europe, was completely intertwined with Ottoman trade. Venetian merchants, diplomats, and scholars regularly traveled to Istanbul and the Levant, bringing back not just spices and silks, but ideas, hermetic text, and esoteric knowledge. The Prisca Theologia. Now, the European Renaissance thinkers like Ficino and Pico della Mirandola were desperately searching for the Prisca Theologia, the ancient universal theology. They found vast amounts of this ancient wisdom preserved in Arabic and Hebrew manuscripts, sheltered within the Ottoman Empire, shaping the magical and symbolic use of the Seal of Solomon.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, that came from there. So the Moors were in Venice as well. What we see, the Doges that were there, and the bloodlines that were in effect. Those people are still around. Officially, you might see a president on TV or you might see a prime minister, but it's totally something else behind the scenes that runs everything.
You mentioned the Seal of Solomon, right? Even like that's itself is a lot of science behind that. The Pent Alpha, the symbol of Solomon, like it's two pyramids, basically one pointing up, one pointing down, and each of the 6 points is an angle itself.
That's right. That's right, my brother. As we continue, we look at the Akis of Anatolia. This was a structured fraternal order. Now, by the 13th century, the Fatwa evolved into the Ahlik, or Aki, right, the brother, organization in Anatolia, Turkey. These fraternal guilds of craftsmen held meetings in lodges called the Zawiyas. The leader, the Aki Baba, guided the brethren in both professional and spiritual conduct, the worshipful master, functioning exactly like a worshipful master in speculative masonry. The degrees in initiation, the Akis utilized a structured system of initiation, moving from apprentice to journeyman, which is fellow craft, and master. Now, the ceremonies involved the binding of a symbolic belt or apron. The moral teachings were heavily geometric. A master was expected to be straight as a ruler, his morals forming a perfect square.
Mm. Mm.
The Akis of Anatolia. We see the Fatwa brotherhoods, right? The chivalric codes. Developing in the 8th and 9th centuries, the Fatwa began as a chivalric code of spiritual youth, heavily associated with the exemplary moral character of Imam Ali. These spiritual orders merged with the practical craft guilds of the Islamic world, creating a powerful fusion of duty, integrity, and operation trade mastery. The brotherhood and secrecy. Stonemasons, weavers, and metal workers organized into brotherhoods that required strict vows of secrecy, mutual aid, and moral uprightness from their members. These guilds utilized the tools of their trade as allegories for building a better soul, long before the term speculative masonry was coined in the West. Even Sir Christopher Wren, right, of St. Paul's Cathedral, he called it the Saracen style, which immigrated to Europe. This is the one about the Seal of Solomon, brother, the flag of Hayreddin Barbarossa. Now, let us ground our discussion by looking at a profound historical artifact. What you are looking at here is the personal standard or the flag of the legendary Ottoman admiral Hayreddin Barbarossa, who dominated the Mediterranean in the 16th century. This flag is a masterclass in Islamic esoteric symbolism. At the top, we see the Quranic inscription of victory, surrounded by the four crescents bearing the names of the Rashidun caliphs, Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, and Ali at the bottom center. We prominently see the seal of Solomon, or in Arabic, they call this the Khatam Suleiman, centuries before it was adopted by modern Western esoteric orders. And
Wow.
you look at the way the sword of Imam Ali, the Zulfiqar, right, the double-edged sword, it looks
Yeah, I
like
see
a
that.
Masonic square and compass.
It does. And it's like the four, the position of the four. It remind me of like the four evangelists.
That's right. The four evangelists, the four corners of the lodge, the
Yep.
four cardinal virtues.
Mm.
And most people do not know. See, they remove this stuff. Like I capture it and I hold on to this stuff before they wipe it from the internet. So now you got the London Evening News from September 3rd, 1918. This is a news clipping and how a Masonic meeting happened in the Al-Aqsa Mosque, right?
Mm.
The holiest site. And they're calling it Palestine. There was no Israel then. They were calling it Palestine.
Yep.
So Freemasons in Palestine have held a Masonic meeting on a historic site of King Solomon's Temple, where Freemasonry is supposed to have originated about 1000 BC. This meeting was organized by members of the New Zealand Expeditionary Force in Palestine. The Mosque of Omar being on the site of the temple, the New Zealanders approached the great Sheikh in charge of the mosque for permission. Then occurred an incident showing the universality of the order. The Sheikh listened to what the strangers had to say, and then to their amazement, he asked if there were any Masons among them. The rest was easy. He declared himself a Mason, and at the meeting, he acted as one of the guards of the lodge.
Mm.
The place within the mosque where the meeting was held is known as the Cave of the Rock of the Dome and is believed to have been the Holy of Holies of the Old Temple, as it is today the Mosque of Omar. Now, the soldiers of all ranks were present, and after a lodge had been duly constituted and opened, resolutions were passed conveying fraternal greetings and good wishes to the various grand lodges, to the lodges in New Zealand, and the brethren on service in France. So, the holiest site in Islam after the Kaaba is this right here. And there was a Masonic meeting that has taken place inside here. Not the Catholic Church or the Vatican, but inside the Holy Mosque.
That brother. Mm. Go ahead. I know
So
the
now we
Yankee.
talk about a Salik, the traveling man. Most
Mhm.
Def song, I'm a traveling man. A Salik is a follower of Sufism, a Salik from the verb salaka, which means to travel or follow, related to saluk, which means pathway. Saluk here specifically refers to a spiritual path, i.e., the combination of the two paths that can be followed in religion, the exoteric path or Sharia, and the esoteric path or the Hakika, to find God.
Mm.
In Freemasonry, one who is a traveling man represents a worthy brother on his journey towards the east, from darkness to true Masonic light. Masons refer to each other as traveling man, while in Sufism, those that are a traveling man are referred to as Saliks. Now, the
Mm.
Salik term of traveling man predates Masonic traveling man usage.
Mm.
And look at it this way, right? When you're in a lodge, brother, everyone respects each other. The innocence of the lambskin of a master mason's apron, the white pure apron, equally divested on the level. And your Hiram basically, you're basically a representation of Hiram Abiff. If you
Mhm.
look at the anagram of Hiram, it's Ihram. You just switch the I and the H, and you get the Ihram, the name of the cloth that you put on when you go to Mecca. And in Mecca, it doesn't matter what your race or background is, you're all equal and on the level. This is what basically changed Malcolm X when he went there, that the rites of initiation.
Yep. It changes whole power. He had a whole paradigm shift.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Now we move on to the cable toe and unity and charity, helping each other if within capability to do so, which is in the Holy Quran, Surah 3, verse 103. And it says, hold fast together to the cable of Allah, God, and be not divided. how they even tie the cable tow around you when they're initiating you, right? And they tell you, do not fear any danger, trust God. So it's all the same right here. So you remember the blessings that Allah bestowed upon you. You were once enemies, then He brought your hearts together so that through His blessings you became brothers. So this is basically telling you that Masonry unites men of every country and of every religion and conciliates true friendship among those who might have otherwise have remained at a perpetual distance.
And that's why many love it, because it's a beautiful thing when it's really practiced.
Yes.
Because core,
Yes.
just like how Islam is.
It is,
Oh,
brother. We're all supposed to love each other and respect each other. And me personally, I'm still doing my thing. The first place you're made a Mason is in your heart.
it's in your heart.
So no one can take that away from me. No one can take the degrees away from me. I just don't believe in the whole Grand Lodge system. I believe in the pre-1717 Arabian ancient Freemasonry of the tribes of North Africa, where they deputized each other to go and spread the light. And they trace their lineage back to Prophet Suleiman, King Solomon, peace be upon him.
Yeah.
So now we look at the sons of the old woman, the Kaaba gatekeepers. The Bani Sheba tribe, the Bani Sheba Quraysh, the sons of Sheba, are an Arab tribe that hold the keys to the Kaaba. The priests of the sacred shrine are still known as the Bani Sheba, or the sons of the old woman, widow's sons, right? They are the Tyler guardians of the Kaaba. So even the Kaaba, right? The perfect ashlar stone temple of God with the pillars and the altar inside, the perfect square. They have Tylers, right? Known as the sons of the old woman, widow's sons. And if you look at them, they're like the dark-skinned Arabs. That's who they are. And even if you look at the royal executioner of Saudi Arabia, he's also a dark-skinned Arab. So those Moorish connections are still there, for those that can put two and two together.
A fact.
And the Queen of Sheba, right? The Queen of Sheba was African. Now we look at the Islamic prayer rug in the shape of the oblong square. Take off your shoes, for you are walking on holy ground. You're supposed to take off your shoes when you go into the masjid. You respect the holy ground. When you pray on the rug, take off your shoes. And look at the shape, the oblong square. You got the pillars, the archway, you got the Kaaba. And what this represents in the Western system through the cartoons and movies, they talk about the magic carpet. So the magic carpet is basically you praying on time, making salat. And when you do that, you elevate yourself to higher dimensions, because look at how you pray, right? You do this, then you go down, you bend. If you look at somatic healing therapy, you look at yoga of the ancient Indians, that releases a lot of your stress. It helps you connect with yourself, with the divine. When you do that here, you're connecting with higher dimensions. You're flying on the magic carpet.
Exactly.
The best thing you could do as a Sufi, as a Muslim, make your salat on time. There are certain Sufi orders in Pakistan, they won't even initiate you if you're not praying 5 times a day. So first they tell you that if you strengthen your prayer, you don't need to do any fancy initiations, any zikrs, anything that is out of the ordinary. Just make your 5 prayers on time, and that will elevate you so much spiritually, and so much enlightenment will come to you through the divine channeling.
That's a fact. And also it keeps you connected to the egregore of those who know what the egregore is, collective energy. You
Yes.
stay connected to it at all times.
Yes, my brother.
Yeah, definitely. Man, yo, I know you still got some more to go, so I'm gonna give you 5 minutes to rock out.
Yes,
We went over
brother.
the hour
So
mark.
now we look at Saladin and Richard the Lionheart. Anytime Saladin and Richard met each other, they greeted each other with the lion's grip, right? Richard the Lionheart. Now, the 25th degree, the Knight of the Brazen Serpent, and the 29th degree, the Scottish, Knights of St. Andrews, it resembles how these Muslims and Christians came together and exchanged brotherhood and knowledge, is preserved in the Scottish Rite degrees. So, and Saladin and Richard always looked out for each other. Now we look at, the Shriners, the grotto. You see the Islamic symbolism, right? In the Shriners, the grotto. Even if you look at the Kingdom of Hawaii, you look at the banner on the top left hand side, you see two dark skinned Moors wearing the fezzes and the red cloth. You see King Kamehameha, the last king of Hawaii, who was an
Mm-hmm.
Islamic shriner. On the bottom, you see the statue of Prophet Muhammad outside of the Supreme Court. How
Yep.
Thomas Jefferson was a Masonic founding father, and how he took freedom of religion from the Quran and from the Prophet Muhammad. You have the letter of George Washington to the Sultan of Morocco. Like, these people were connected with each other. You look at the flag of South Carolina, it's got the crescent on there. It was connected to the Turkish people, the Ottomans at that time. You look at Hawaii, they have Islam Day, the only state in the Americas that celebrates Islam as a state national holiday. Islam Day is the Kingdom of Hawaii because there were Moors, before the U.S. took them over. On the
Mm.
top, you have Jamal al-Afghani, the Sufi master. He taught Madame Blavatsky. She referred to him as Serapis Bey, the hidden masters of the East, Noble Drew Ali, Egypt. You just
Mm.
put two and two together, and it's all connected with each other. We look at Sahih Bukhari, right? The Hadiths, Volume 1, Book 3, number 120. And
Mm.
Abu Huraira, he narrates, I have memorized two kinds of knowledge from Allah's Messenger, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. I have propagated one of them to you, and if I propagate the second, then my throat will be cut off. So you look at the penalty of the entered apprentice obligation. It comes from Islam.
Mm. Mm. My brother.
The final revelation, the profound connection between Freemasonry and Islam is deeply rooted in history. The Templars acted as pivotal bridges, absorbing advanced Islamic knowledge and transmitting it into the Scottish lodges. This revelation reshapes conventional narratives, proving Freemasonry to be a universal tradition rooted in shared Abrahamic and esoteric heritage. Now, I've given you an academic and spiritual with proof of everything that I've said on how Freemasonry's ties to Islam are foundational. You got the Western Masons who are always giving credit to the Greeks and Romans and blah, 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 stuff that makes
Exactly.
them look good and feel good.
Mm-hmm.
But I have shown you with proof and evidence in my books, lectures, presentations on Masonry, Templars, OTO, Thelema, Rosicrucianism. There is a debt to the East that they owe, and it's our job to reclaim our intellectual heritage. Even Greek philosophy, it's stolen Kemetic Egyptian philosophy. Professor George G.M. James, check out his book.
Yep.
So
Stolen legacy.
it all comes back to us, no matter what they try to use against us.
Can't do
So
it, man. Brother, I want to say thank you so much for a powerful, profound presentation. People, come on, run up those lights. Give that brother a round of applause, man. Give him a round. Let me see if I got some sounds for you, man. Let me see what I got. What I got you, man. Because you just did something very profound, man. Yo, I appreciate you for coming out and doing that, man. Oh, hello. I think the brother lost connection. Man, the brother lost connection. It happens, unfortunately. He was having some issues earlier. People, I appreciate you for tuning in. Show some likes. Give support to the movement. This is NYP. We are doing our thing. Listen, every week we bring you guys some fire, some heat. So do support. You know what I'm saying? Give a shout out to my brother Brown. Shout out to myself, Mike Fever, our NYP family. Keep on showing that love, man. And we got y'all. All right. That being said, peace and love. We out.